Okay, that piece was by Carcassi, Matteo Carcassi, from his 25 studies, Opus 60, and that's number 11. And I'm going to use it to discuss harmony in the 19th century. And the studies teach you many things, of course technique, everyone goes to these for technique, but they can also teach you about structure in music and the classical era. And it's a bit like learning grammar. It can help you in many situations, even learning foreign languages, if you know the grammar of your own language. And so you can learn about music from different periods and eras and countries and styles if you understand the classic harmony of the classical period. Okay, now, it's in the key of D minor. That's the first thing you should look for. What key is it in? And you say, okay, it's D minor. The next thing you ask is, what is the dominant chord? Because, the dominant tonic chord relationship is the most common in all this music. So you count up 5. D, E, F, G, A. So D minor has an A chord as the dominant. And the dominant very often has a seventh added to it, a flat seventh. So in that case, the A chord adds a G, and we get A7 going to D minor. And we could do an A7 here, but we have to do a more difficult D minor chord to resolve that. We could do A7 here, and D minor, A7th, D minor, A7th, D minor, or so that's important, knowing the key and its dominant chord. Now, one of the devices they used is to shift the key to what's called a relative major. When we start in a minor key, they go to the relative major and have a section there. Now, what does that mean? Well, if we count up 3 from D, D, E, F, and play F major, we'll notice that F major has F, A, C, and D minor has F, A, D. They're very close, 2 of the notes are the same. There's only 3 notes in each chord unless it's a 7th or a 9th or something. So 2 out of the 3 notes are the same. So, we call them relatives because they're so close, like cousins, aunties, uncles, that kind of thing. Really. So they're close, and these are relatives. So the relative major chord or key is very often used when the overall key of a piece is in the minor. And the reverse, if a piece is in F major, there will probably be a section in D minor, the relative minor. So once we know what the relative major is, we should calculate what its dominant 7th is. We just count up 5 again. But we're in the key of F, so it's F, G, A, B flat, C. C is the 5th note, so C is the dominant of F. And we could add a 7th in it. We could do a 7th here. There are various 7ths and Fs all over the place, C7s and Fs. So we've learned what the key is and its dominant, and the relative major and its dominant. These are important things. Then the next thing is we're going to decorate that dominant chord, because we've talked about dominants and tonics. The dominant chord, A7th in the key of D minor, we're going to add a flat 9 to that. What does that mean? Well, we count up 9 notes from A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. It's the same as going up 2, but we traditionally say it's a 9th. And that B, if we add it to our A7th, will give us a B9 chord. It's a nice chord. It's quite modern sounding, but we want a B flat because we want a flat 9. And get this strange chord. Sounds a bit Spanishy at times. Okay, now because the A in the bass clashes with that B flat, really dissonant, very often the root is absent altogether. And this is one of the hardest things for students to realize in a score, to spot when the root is missing from a chord. But over time you get used to it, and it's very often the dominant 7 flat 9 that has the root that's missing. So we're left with these 4 notes. Now, if you know guitar chords at all, it looks and smells and tastes and hopefully sounds like a diminished 7th chord. Now, one thing about diminished 7th chords is they repeat every 3 frets the same note. One of them drops off and one of them goes up an octave. Yeah, and each time they would go to a D minor chord. It's good to be able to do this. Oops. Okay, so learn your D minors up the neck. There's one here, one here, one here, one here. And learn the dominant 7 flat 9 up the neck and then put them together. So you know an altered dominant, a dominant 7 with a flat 9 moving to a tonic chord. Really important, it's hugely popular. They're all over Giuliani, Soar, Carcassi, Carulli. All these guys use dominant 7s with flat 9s. So we may as well get used to them. Okay, now there are 2 other chords which are really interesting in that one of them is on the note fret above the dominant. So the dominant is A, it's 1 fret above, is the root of it. We'll come back to it. The other chord is a semitone above the tonic chord. So the tonic is D minor, it's going to be on E flat. So a semitone above the dominant or the tonic. Now the one above the dominant, let's have a look at that. There's A7th. If I move it up a fret, you'd be forgiven for thinking that's B flat 7th. You know, we've got an A7, B flat 7, or A sharp 7 if you like. But instead of B flat 7, we call it B flat augmented 6. Why? You know, because really, you listen. You know, it's going from this chord to the dominant to the tonic. It all sounds very normal and quite nothing spectacular about it, but the name of it, B flat augmented 6. Well, let's look at that. If we take the B flat and do a major scale, count up 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We get to a G. Now, augmented means sharpen, so we sharpen that. So that's why that becomes B flat sharp 6. That's why it's called that. Now, what's the difference between B flat 7 and B flat sharp 6? It's what happens next. The B flat 7 would be a dominant 7th of E flat. It's a great way of changing key from D minor to E flat, is you put in a B flat seventh. Okay, and that's quite a distance away from D minor musically. But if it's a B flat augmented 6, it does this. Goes to A major, the top part goes up, the lower parts go down. And this is the dominant chord. Then you do A7, and you're back in D minor. Okay, I'm going to use a lower voicing for it, the B flat 7, B flat augmented 6. Here, it's B flat F, G sharp, that's the 6 sharpened, and D, B, F, G sharp, D. Now these two fingers can go down a fret, you get A7th, and then you have to resolve it to this D minor. Okay, so this. Like B flat 7, it's B flat augmented 6 to A7th. So that's what it's called in the harmony, and you'll find it written with sharp, a G sharp, instead of an A flat. And now the other chord that's a semitone above is the wonderfully named Neapolitan flat 2. Okay, and it's a major chord, a half step, that's a semitone above D in this case, in this key, is E flat major. It's like D major chord moved up a fret, and we have to put an E flat in the bass. But I'm going to miss out that second string because it's just doubling the bass note. So I'm going to play E flat, B and G. Okay, now this would go to the dominant 7th chord. That G could stay where it is, and then D minor. Okay, now it often appears in the first inversion. So if the notes of the chord are E flat, G, B flat, well, let's put the G in the bass, then the B flat on the 3rd string, and the E flat on the 2nd string. G, B flat, E flat. So that's the first inversion of this Neapolitan 2. It's what we call 2B, 2/B if you like, meaning first inversion. And that goes to the dominant, and then the tonic. Okay, so it's Neapolitan, dominant 7th, and tonic. Okay, so that's the two chords, the augmented 6 and the Neapolitan chord, which are just a semitone above the dominant and tonic chords, respectively. Now, just one more chord, if you're still here. There's this wonderful chord called a 6/4 chord, and it intervenes between these two chords we've been talking about. So if I'm doing the Neapolitan going to the dominant and then the tonic, it goes in between the Neapolitan and the dominant. What you get is the one chord, but crucially with the 5th of the one chord, an A in this case in the bass. So that's D minor with an A in the bass. Okay, I'll get it up higher. Remember the E flat chord, then D minor with A in the bass, and then you go to the dominant with the A in the bass. A7, D minor. So it fits in between. Instead of just going, it goes. Okay. Also that B flat augmented 6 we talked about. I could do it there as well, so B flat augmented 6 would be going to A7, then D minor. This time we're going to go B flat augmented 6, then D minor with A in the bass, the 6-4 chord. Why is it called 6-4? Well, if we count up 4 notes from A, we have A, B, C, D, D minor we're looking for, and the 6th note, E, F. F is also in the D minor chord. So this is 6-4, then 5-3 with a 7, 7-5-3, we get A7, and then D minor, the 1 chord. Okay, now I'm going to play through the piece again, calling out the chords as they appear. Okay, there's a 3-note upbeat, and then we're into D minor, the key. D minor, still D minor, still D minor. Now we're going to the dominant A major, A7, A7th, back to D minor. So we've taken 8 bars, and all we've done is play D minor, A, or A7th, and D minor. Just 2 chords really. You can do a lot with 2 chords, 8 bars in. And then we go to the relative major. Remember I talked about that at the beginning, which is going to be F major. And to get there, we need to play its dominant, the C7th. This is what happens. So we got the D minor. We're in C now. C7th. There's the F. So C7 took us to F. C again. F again. And then we're fed up with that. We want to get back to D minor, so we go to A7th. That's A7th. Back to D minor. There's the D. And then the first of these chords that are semitone above, this is the one that's a semitone above the dominant. It's the B flat augmented 6. So we're on D minor. We've got G sharp, not A flat, and a B flat. Now what we're having is this, looks like B flat 7, is B flat augmented 6, which goes to the dominant. It's A major. And then we decorate the dominant with a flat 9. Remember we talked about flat 9. So B flat, there it is. We've still got an A7th underneath, bit of a stretch. A7th, so it's A7 flat 9, that's what that is. Then D minor, because that was a dominant, we've gone to the D minor again. Here we get the same chord again, but the B flat this time is down on the 3rd string, 3rd fret. So we've got an A7th chord, but we've added a B flat. And so still very much still a dominant chord with a flat 9. Back to D minor. And it kind of repeats the opening, so we've got lots of D minor. And then we expect it to go to the dominant as it did at the beginning, but it doesn't, surprises us. We've got this chord, which is our Phrygian flat 2, not Phrygian, some people call it Phrygian, it's Neapolitan chord, which usually goes to the dominant. Well, let's see what happens. Still the E flat. It's this kind of shape, E flat. Does it go back to the tonic or dominant? It goes to the 6/4 chord, because we expect it to go to the dominant chord, but it goes to the 6/4 chord. Remember, that's D minor with A in the bass. There's a D, A in the bass. Then it goes to A and A7 to take us home. So there we are. Everything I talked about is in this one piece. And now, they don't always have all these things in every piece. You'll get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And there might be other things too. But these are the most common chord devices or harmonic devices, cadences. Cadence just means chord movement, go from one chord to another. But usually we talk about final cadence, a dominant to a tonic, that kind of thing. Chord movement. So it tells you all about this piece, and once you've played a few pieces and analysed them, you begin to see the same things happening in lots of pieces. Composers studied these things. They practiced them. They did them in different keys, different fingerings, different voicings, and they got to know them really well. Now, has it taught us how to play this piece? No. It's marked agitato, agitated. Now, you could be agitated and really slow, or you could be fast, and so on, all the way through the piece. Or I was kind of going for a medium tempo, but I'm pulling the string a little bit. You can work on your interpretation, but one part of the interpretation is pointing out to an audience what these interesting chords are. If you don't know what they are, it's going to be hard for you to point them out to people. Now, when I say point them out, I don't have a big arrow to watch this bit. Or don't shout out the chords, but you can create room for the chords. For instance, I'm going into the B flat augmented 6, I'm on D minor. So I've created a little bit of room around the chord. It's an interesting chord. Sort of like breathing, and subliminally people are aware that this bit is important. So it can help you with interpretation as well. Okay, I hope you got some of that. When I'm teaching, I don't always teach at this level. Beginners, players who are not advanced. I might just introduce tonic and dominant, and we'll go through a few pieces learning about that. And slowly you build up your knowledge to this level, and hopefully beyond one day. Now, composers like Barrios, Antonio Lauro, in the 20th century, they used this language as well, but they might add in more than a flat 9. For instance, they might add in other notes to chords and so on. But the underlying structure, architecture, is very similar to this. Okay, that's it. Any questions, just ask. Bye.